let's talk about your solo stuff, Curt. You came back. You've done 3 records now, and I gave them a listen. The first one was pretty much sort of mellow R&B, mid-tempo, slow tempo, and then the more recent ones, it seems like you've branched out more and done more funk again and more variety. So, could you talk about sort of that progression through your solo works?
Sure. Well, I think I alluded to earlier when I started recording the first few songs for uh, 360. I had already been recording a bunch of stuff, and I was recording some people trying to maybe record a couple artists, trying to get them a deal and this and that. And I remember going from tape to digital, and I went digital, and when the first track that I did, I was just trying something. I didn't know what it was going to be, and it started evolving. And I started hearing things, and I did the vocals, wrote the lyrics, did the vocals and everything. And that was a song called "Is It" on that album. And then I mixed it. And I was like, wow, this came out really, really good. This is better than a lot of stuff that I was trying to do when I was paying them a lot of money going in the studios. It's like I'm finally got exactly what I want, the way I want it, sitting in the place that I want it. Everything was, and it was just being in the moment, where I had seen myself going musically, and that's how the title of the album came about, because I started to call the album Full Circle because it felt like I had gone full circle with everything. But at that time, Boys to Men had a song out called, I think, an album called Full Circle. So I said, well, I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to get mixed up and say, well, he took their name or this. So I said, well, how do you keep the circle theme? And I thought about it for a while. I said, well, circle is 360 degrees. So that's what it'll be. That's how the title for that came. The next song after that was Someone Like You, the ballad. Did that, finished that. And that, when I remember, I got everything done up to the lead vocal. And I had an idea for the lead vocal, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to finish it. I'd done some recording that day. It was getting close to the end of the day where I had to go pick up my son from school. He was like, I think he was in like kindergarten or first grade or something like that. I was going to pick him up. So I said, let me just lay down a rough vocal real quick. Get this down. Then I'll know where I want to start from when I come back tonight. And then I'd go start at night and record it into the wee hours of the morning. But I went and picked up my son. We had dinner, blah, 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 everything. Everybody goes to bed. I come back up in the studio and I listen. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Okay, now let me really listen to it. What do I want to do? What do I want to fix? And I listen. Second time, that sounds really good. And so I said, let me put it in solo and really fix what needs to be touched up. And it was just one of those moments, man, where after the third time and I played, I said, I'm not touching it. It just happened. It was that moment. And evidently, whatever I put down, I wasn't thinking a lot. I was feeling and trying to get through it. And without a lot of overthinking, the feeling came through. And that's the vocal on that song to this day. That was the second song I completed. When I heard that, I said, this is an album. This is a solo album that's taking shape here. I got it. I can feel it now. And and that led me to going on with.
Before you even talked to me today, when I listened to it, I immediately was thinking of influences like Marvin Gaye and Ronald Isley. So, definitely I hear that in it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are ingredients that I could never escape, because when influences like that are responsible or kind of made you want to do it in the first place, you know, and that's all I listened to. And as a kid, Marvin Gaye's voice, I listened to the things that he did, And then I heard some stuff when I started recording, getting into recording and getting familiar with how to record my voice. I started saying, listening to it, and I heard things that were similar to what Marvin would do. And I said, wow, that's how he's doing that. It's not, it's not singing real hard. That's how he's doing. I found the place in the register because we had similar range. And so I heard where that tension came from. I said, so that's how that's done. Because I heard me doing it by accident. And it made me think of Marvin all the years I listened to him. I said, whoa, okay. So now I'm starting to piece some things together and starting to learn my own voice, even better, taking it another step further, Yeah.
Well, so the solo record, though, very ambitious. A lot of music on there, a lot of variety, a little funkier. I was very impressed by it. What were you setting out to do with that one?
Truthfully, I was just continuing, trying to pick up where I left off with 360, and I was just recording a bunch of stuff. So all right, we start recording some more songs. And so I'm gonna do another record, you know, but I didn't intend for it to turn out to be a double CD, which is what it turned out to be. I didn't plan that. I was just trying to do a good record, and I kept going and going and going till I felt like I had what felt like the statement that I was trying to make and what felt complete. And once I did that, lo and behold, I had way more music than can fit on one CD. So I said, then I had to start thinking about, well, what do you want to take off? What do you want to take off and maybe put on another record later or what? And I was like, nah, that's not what this is about with me doing this stuff. That's what record labels do. I'm doing this with my rules and my attitude toward it. And I got to the place where I said, I don't want to take anything off of it. So it's just going to be what it's going to be. I'm going to do a double C. It'll be a double CD. I had it mixed already, and I just said, well, take it to my guy and have it mastered, and do it that way. And then I got the cover design, got that done with people I did the cover with, and it worked out. Now I wanted it to be from like from the old school, like from a hard copy era. So like, you know, but it was on CD. So I said, well, I want the CD to be like a little album cover, and it's like a little double album cover. You open them both up, and it's two CDs, one on each side. There's pictures on the inside, and stuff, credits on there. It's if you just took it up to the size of an album, it'd have been a double album cover, but it's CD size, but it's still an album cover.
Oh,
And I said, that's my theme from now on. All of this is going to look like a little album. You know, that's kind of where that came from.
so you most recently came out with 3 a couple of years ago. And again, that one too is a single CD, but it's a lot of music and a lot of good funk on there, among other stuff. And while I was listening to these two, I was thinking of like just because you guys both sing and do guitar and do a lot of the music, like Jesse Johnson kind of thing. He does not. He doesn't record very often these days, but he's done a couple of things on his own where he definitely played by his own rules.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, there's no company telling you that we want you to sound like our version of whoever had the latest hit. There's nobody in the room telling you that. There's nobody in our office telling you that now that you're independent. It's you are the CEO. You are the creative director of anything that you do. And in my mind, that's the way art should be anyway. Because without artists, you know, what does a label have to produce, promote, or sell? I think a lot of the focus has shifted from the most important part. The artist is the source. And if you don't have a source, what's a record company doing? They don't have any records to be a record company for without artists. So, but that gets into a whole another category, another discussion about the business and how
Yeah.
artists were treated from years and years past. And, it's
It's not a pretty picture.
Yeah, it's not everybody. It's not a secret. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. You know, people know.
Are,
And
are,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Without seeing the packaging, though, are you responsible for all the sounds on those records, or did you have some helpers?
Yeah, I had some help. I did basically everything on these records, but the live bass that you heard had my bass player friends do it on 360 and on solo. 360 real bass was cut. A friend of mine named Bill Brady played with me in corporate bands in New Jersey. Brilliant bass player, and his sound, I got so attached to his sound by playing the gigs with him that I knew that anything that I wanted, did with real bass, I said, I gotta have Billy play on this. And it got to a point where we laughed because he I tell him some of these songs, man, I write with your bass sound and your touch in mind because of the way you play your turnarounds and the touch and what you bring to the table. It's just it's a formula that fits mine. It works, and we work so well together. He's on 360. He's on solo, and so is Ray Jackson on one track on solo. Don't say you want it. Ray Jackson played. I had him come in and play on that, and then on three, Ray Jack is on two of the tracks, Lone Funketeer and Never Thought You'd Say Goodbye. It's Ray Jack playing on both of those. I played some keyboard bass on some of it, and he mixed in, and we've always worked well together. He find the right spots to be in, and just add so much without taking away from the track and taking the track to another level. He Ray Jackson is a master at that. He's done it so many times with us, with Aurra, and done it with me, and on his own music that you hear some of the stuff that he records, you you wouldn't believe it. Yeah, but yeah, I had that, and I had on all three, I had songs that had keyboard solos. I always left a spot for Monty Moyer. And when I was doing 360, I drove up to Minneapolis and took my thing out there, hard disk or whatever I was using, and had Monty record a Fender Rhodes solo on one of the tracks. Never Take Your Love From Me. And then on solo, he did he did solo on one of the tracks there. Uh, I, I gotta think about it to jar my own memory about what titles of the songs were on the record. But he played or Hammond B3 organ solo on that. It was just killer. And then on three, he did the same thing. I had a couple of tracks where he did one track called Can't Stop. That's gotten a lot of hits and a lot of play over the last year. And uh, it, he did a beautiful Fender Rhodes solo on that. And the other song, he did a Hammond B3 organ solo on that. Well, and that Billy, and Ray Jack. That's pretty much all the outside help I had, other than background vocals. I had Marcia Day sang on some of the 360, one or two of the tracks, I think, on 360. On solo, one of the tracks, uh, native of Minneapolis, Sue Ann Carwell. She sang
Oh yeah.
background on one of the tracks on solo, and just some little ad lib stuff. And that's a brilliant talent too. All Minneapolis based. She's been in LA for she had been in LA for like 20 years or so. And she was like the vocal weapon of Diane Warren, her right hand man. It's like she would do the guide vocals for Tony Braxton records, Celine Dion records. Uh, she would lay the guide out. Mary J. Blige, she did something when I was out there for that Diane Warren was doing for Mary J. Blige. She did uh so much stuff. There's so many records that she's on, and she has so many different voices. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it's all her because she has so many different voices. She can sing the raw, hard, rough funky stuff, but she's got the smooth pop voice. She's got all these voices. She's made a career out of doing that
Very,
in
very
LA for
interesting.
almost 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I should
Don't
talk
Be
to her
Cruel.
sometime.
Don't Be Cruel for that album, Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
Probably would have never happened if Sue Ann didn't work with him on the vocal.
So, in preparation for talking to you today, I was going through some of the YouTube stuff I told you before we went on air. And there's some cool stuff on there. I recommend anyone viewing go look for Curt Jones on YouTube. But some of the stuff I really got a kick out of was seeing you do some of the cover tunes that you do, including things like Cosmic Slop and, of course, Slide, and seeing you really cut loose on guitar, and why is it that, so often you really got to see somebody on stage to know their full guitar chops. You don't necessarily hear the full range of it on record.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I played guitar on a lot of the records, but we had so many guys that could play guitar, and like when it came to Slave, I wasn't going to be playing too many solos in front of Drac or Danny because those were the guys that they laid out the sound. I was happy to accompany and do whatever was needed from me. But on the Stone Jam album, I got to do, excuse me, the song "Never Get Away." Me and Stevie Arrington sang the vocal on that, and I got Jimmy Douglas had me do whatever I want. He said, "What else?" Because I wasn't even supposed to be in the studio that day. He asked Stevie, "Does Curt have anything to do today?" And Stevie said, "No, I don't think he's scheduled for anything." He said, "Send Curt over. He like his energy. Send him over." So I came that day, and we worked on "Never Get Away" and started doing it. Me and Stevie did the vocals and started doing tracks and everything. And I put down the guitar solo on that. And I did rhythm tracks with the guitar solo. I think I used one of Drac's strats or Stevie's strat, one of them. And did that and did the solo. And then Jimmy said, "Well, what else do you want to do?" He said, "How do you hear this? What do you want to do?" He started letting me produce stuff. I said, "Let's get Floyd in here, man. Let's get Floyd in here and put him on timbales." And he started killing the timbales and did the killer stuff that's on the timbales there. We just laid it out, We just had a blast doing that. Yeah. Awesome experience.
So where are some of those places that you're playing at? Because it looks like there's small venues and I'm seeing it and I'm thinking, man, I wish some of the small venues out here in Charlotte, North Carolina had like a Curt Jones ripping it up on stage like you are.
I'm just getting out to play because I feel like I want to play. I play music that occasionally did some of my originals off of the 360 for a while with my band up in Jersey, and but mostly it's this classic cover stuff that I want to hear, and you don't get to hear bands play. I got pretty, it got pretty redundant to me to go out and hear bands all playing the same songs because that's kind of what works in that circuit or whatever. So I went the opposite way. I said, I want to do what nobody's playing. I want to do the stuff that made me love to buy records, made me love this music, but nobody is taking the step to play it out live. So the following I got in Jersey with my band, if they came, they knew they could hear something like Cosmic Slop. They knew they could hear Standing on the Verge of Getting It On, the funkadelic stuff. They knew they could hear some classic R&B.
And not just by the numbers, but really get into it.
Yeah, we had a blast. My band, my drummer was Kevin Nats Moore. He would play with me in Aurra. He was on the Aurra tours. He was on the Little Love album. That's my guy, Mr. Pocket, man. He's everybody loves him. Nobody doesn't want him to be playing with them. He's just that kind of guy, and great friend too. Really cool. And Bill Brady, I mentioned him. He was the bass player in that band that you saw those clips from. Friend of mine, Vince Jeffries, played keyboards. Go back with Vince since junior high school. We were in stage band together. He was so brilliant. He was winning awards in junior high school, just from the state, just play. He's just that brilliant. And then background vocalist to work with me, Wayne Griffin, who is every bit of the front man that whatever it is that I do, he's every bit of that and fronts bands of his own and does an incredible job. But he's just cool enough person and an incredible talent where he agreed to just come and help me because I was trying to do that with my band. I said, I need somebody that knows what they're doing to help me sing a little background on this stuff, man. He said, I'm there. He was just no question about it. He didn't, it's not no head trip that he wasn't fronting it because he fronts his bands, but he was down to just be a part of, what I was trying to do. I love him for that because guy is an extraordinary talent. If you ever get to Jersey and you get to hear the Flavor Band, FLAVA, Flavor, go check them out. They play.
Yeah, remember that.
Real good. Yeah.
So I didn't find any live versions of you doing the Aurra tracks. Is there any reason for that, or am I missing them, or you still playing those?
I've done it a few times. Play slide. I've done Make Up Your Mind a bit. Some of that stuff in small venues, it's kind of hard for me to pull off because, I'm a person like this. If guys agree to come out and play with me, I want to guarantee them a certain amount of money on a night, just because they made the effort and they thought it was important enough to come out, drag their gear out, and drive to wherever it is and play with me. So these venues don't pay a whole lot. So you can't afford to have as many background vocalists as you need to pull off some of that stuff. And rather than try to do a version that falls short of what it is, until I can get that, I'd rather do it right than half do it. So that's why you don't hear it sometimes. But there were nights that we were able to do Make Up Your Mind. I did that. And some of the special nights were so cool because my son was there. His name's Topaz Jones. That's his show name. And he's making quite a name for himself. He's got a couple projects out there. He's about to drop 2 new songs this Friday. He's brilliant. I mean, and not just because he's my son, because if you heard this, you said this kid on the grind. He's been on the grind since junior high school. And I watched him. And it's like, when somebody's going to do something, because his mom and I saw it and we said, he's going to do this because you couldn't keep him away from it, and he mastered GarageBand on his computer. He was making GarageBand sound like records, and then so he moved up to Logic and started doing all, he just, and just always thinking, always putting together his lyrics and beats. And now it's evolved to this thing. He's toured all over the world. He's been in Australia last summer, Germany, London. He did a show with some pretty big names, and he's standing on the verge right now. That's where he's at.
Wow.
And he was there. I did Make Up Your Mind. And so I said, okay, I'm doing Make Up Your Mind. You know what the song is about. Think about it for a while. And I'm going to get in the middle and I'm going to break it down. When I break it down, I'm going to give you a nod. You come up here and freestyle on it. And he came up and just blew the song apart. The crowd went nuts. It was just, that was too much fun. I'm like,
time for a remake.
Yeah, I'm like, something I did years ago on here. I'm like looking at my son who wasn't even around when I did that. And he's tearing it apart, taking it to another level. I said, that's a moment I wish I could have had on camera there.
I can say I saw him on one of the videos with you, and he came in and did his thing, and I could tell he had some skills. Yeah, for sure. So you must be proud.
He works very hard. His work ethic is, I think he took that out of my book. He told me when he finished his first project, and he said, Dad. I said, well, yeah, what you doing? He said, just released I heard the stuff. It sounds great. He released it and it was out and people were giving him a lot of likes and hits. And he said, I'm recording songs already for the next record. I said, already? He said, yeah, I'm taking a page out of your book. Because when I finished 360, he said, what are you doing? I said, 360 had just come out. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm recording new songs for a new record. He said, already? I said, why wait? It's going to take the time it's going to take anyway. You might as well get started because some of these songs may not be the ones, but you need to get started, you know? So he took that out of my, took that page out of my book and he runs with it now.
Nice. So what are you up to right now musically, and what might we see from you in the near future?
Well, right now, I'm always coming up with ideas, and I have ideas in the back of my mind and little ideas recorded uh, for songs for a future record. But I'm really in the process of completing a record on my wife, CC Jones. And we started this a couple years back, and we're about 3 songs away from really wrapping it up and finishing it up. Um, it's going to be um, almost all the recording is done. We just got to get vocals and a couple little things on the last 3 songs, and it's being mixed by my partner up in Jersey, Kendall Stubbs, who worked brilliant engineer, worked with me for years in production and independent production. He came from the Bahamas. He worked with Kool and the Gang. When they went down to Compass Point and recorded one of their albums, they liked him so much they brought him up to New Jersey, and he's been up in Jersey since. He lived and got married and is in Jersey, and I've connected with him because Kool and the Gang and Aurra and Slade, we all recorded at the House of Music in West Orange, as I mentioned. So they'd be right across the hall from us, and Kendall would Kendall would be over there, and I'd heard all this stuff, and I said, "Well, who played this? And who did this? Kendall. Who mixed this? Kendall. Who played the bass on it? Kendall." I said, "Well, who is this Kendall?" And then they were like, they told me what they told me the story, but he came up from the Bahamas and he's playing. So fast forward, I was doing the Deja project with Starleana, and we were in our management office. We had business management with at that time TWM management, who had us. We used to have Slave and Aura, but then as we evolved with Deja, we were still with them. They had the Manhattans, they had Kool and the Gang, and they had Regina Bell. So we'd see them up in the office a lot. So my manager was up there, and with our business manager, and he says, "Hey, got this tape floating around here. You know Kendall Stubbs?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I know who he is. Yeah, he works for Kool and the guys. Yeah, yeah, they brought this tape over. It's got this track. Needs some lyrics though." I said, "Well, you interested in trying to write something with him on it?" I said, "Yeah, just give me the tape." So I took it home and I wrote some lyrics and did a little mock-up recording of backgrounds and leads and stuff and put it out. And I just sent it back, and I didn't think about it anymore. Just gave it to them and I hope they liked it. And then about maybe a month later, we heard that Robert Palmer heard it and loved it and wanted to do it on one of his background vocals. So we said, "Wow, okay, cool." So Kendall calls me up. Said, "Hey man, you heard about the song?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, it means we got to do something together." I said, "Yeah, we do, right?" So we continued on that, and that at that time we started writing together and producing, and we formed a little independent production company and did a lot of stuff. We did some independent production for RCA Records, and we worked with a gentleman who was a major person who what was the connection for me establishing my bond with my wife, because she was signed to Virgin back in those days when we had the Deja record out, but we didn't get to meet each other. She was at one of the functions that when we were doing a promotional function. We saw each other, we knew of each other, but never got to speak. Fast forward later years, we're on social media, and I'm seeing the same gentleman that got me a lot of production work and worked with me in Virgin Records when I was with Virgin in the Texas area. He was the representative for this region when we came to Texas to take us around promotional events. His name was Roland Edison, an incredible human being, wonderful person in the industry, one of the most true and down to earth people I've met in the record industry. And uh, saw it on her page, and she saw it on my page, and I said, "Wow, you knew him?" She said, "Yeah." And then we started talking. One thing led to another. And that's how my wife and I started connecting and got into a relationship. And got married in 2016. So,
You got married in 2016?
yes, June
Oh,
2016.
no, still a newlywed kind of.
Yeah, yeah. Still,
Congratulations.
so I'm finishing up a record on her, and she never her stuff she was doing never really got to be released, and she never got to be heard from that stuff the way it should have been. You know, the industry is full of drama and different political struggles and all that. So there's always a ton of reasons why a project may never may end up where it's meant to be. But I just heard her voice and I said, well, you know, I work with females enough. I know what to do with that voice. When I heard it, I said, you know, and we talked and we started talking more and more. I said, you know, you wanted to do an R&B record, you know, let's do it, you know, and we started working on songs, you know. Now I'm very happy about what it is and what it's becoming. We're almost done. And I think we got a sound that's just right for her, and she's going to get a chance to be heard like she's never been heard before. So look out for CC Jones. That'll be coming out.
Definitely good. Excellent. And if folks want to get your records, what's the best way to keep up with you and to get your merchandise?
Um, well, everything is on CD, baby. That's where my hard copies will be sold at, and they got that's like one of the largest independent distribution companies in the world, and they got on probably 100 digital download companies, iTunes, Amazon, all of that. You can get it on Amazon, iTunes, any digital download places that are selling music. It's on Spotify. You can get it there. You can, you know, any way you prefer. I mean, things are changing with technology so rapidly because I remember with 360, and I did some research and checked out when the sales were coming from abroad and from here that maybe like 1/3 of the sales were like digital downloads and 2/3 were hard copy CDs because the audience that I'm touching base with is from an album cover generation. They like copies. Now this is early 2000s. You know, I mean the album was actually released, I think, 2006. Or, yeah, 2006. And there's people from our generation and then from that hardcover album cover generation that in 2006 still didn't have a computer,
Mm.
didn't know how to use it, but as years progressed, by the time Solo came out and I released that in 2010, 4 years later, things were a little different. You can see the numbers shift. More and more people of that generation have become more computer literate. And also what I'm finding for independent artists that the consumer is realizing now that the internet is where you can find anything you want that you're not getting to hear on the radio.
Right.
They figured that out now. It took a little while, but now whatever you wanted to hear on the radio and it's not there anymore, you can find it. There's a place to find it. All you got to do is know the name and know what to type in, and it'll pop up. And you can purchase it if you want to support it. And that's how artists stay alive. People support the work that they do.
Yeah.
And because the industry works in reverse with what allows artists to become what they're able to become. The industry sells units. They're not particular about really what's on the record if it'll sell. If you're coughing on a record and it sells 100,000 copies in a day, they're going to sell that. They don't really care.
Yeah.
Musical integrity means nothing to the bean counters. You know what I mean? It's like, but for musicians and artists, if you go back in history and look at artists, painters, sculptors, Michelangelo, anybody's art got better with time and dedication, and the older they got, the art just got more and more refined and just better. Look at Leo Fender, created Fender guitars. You know, Brit, he didn't even play, but he created something that gave a voice to so many legends now, and that that has been copied from the Fender company. They don't want to mess with what made it work, and that's why it's still what it is. But later on, Leo Fender started G&L company with his partner George Fullerton, and they those guitars are, Leo Fender said, they're some of the best instruments that he ever made, and that came in the back end of his life, maybe the last 6 years of his life. Started in '85, he died in '91. He was working in his office maybe weeks before he passed away. But that is what an artist commits to over time. It just gets better. It doesn't go out of style. Quality never goes out of style. Just for business people, what what's easy to sell is in style for them.
Right.
If they can make it sell easy. There used to be a time where they put promotional staffs and they put work in and money in to break solid R&B records. Well, things started changing. Hip hop, the way records are made, and they started selling on the street. So now they don't have to put money into breaking a record. So if they had to do that again, I think they'd be like a deer in headlights. They don't, they don't do it the way they did it back in the day. But you built a fan base with artists of that caliber because their sound matured, their fan base followed them and grew with them. And it may have taken a couple records to really get it established, but the labels didn't give up on it because they believed in it. Nope, we're going to keep going. And lo and behold, that big record comes.
Now that happens through the internet instead, but which is great. But I just, it's a double-edged sword of getting the monies due to the artists.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is an interesting time. You're looking at a time where I believe it's like the final frontier here. Like when back in the days, or the last frontier was going west. The untouched territory. And this is a territory that's kind of untouched. Nobody has it figured out yet. They don't know how it's going to end up. It's going to work out one way or another, but the chips are still up in the air. They haven't fallen yet. And it's still evolving. But in this process, I remember talking about this with my friend Monty. We were talking, and this is an interesting time because more artists and really creative people are independent right now. And the music is out here, and people are getting word that they know knowledge of how to purchase it and find it. So there's going to be a time, 20, 30, maybe 40, 50 years later, where they're going to say, you remember back in this time in the early 2000s, and the record industry was in a different phase, and then a lot of artists couldn't get record deals, but they were doing it on the internet. They were independent. It was and they were making some really great music back then. You're going to see in time something's going to happen, and then there'll be documentaries about, just like you see on blues artists, or some, that you never got to hear of before or something. It's just a funny stage that is going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, a program like this is necessary.
Absolutely.
Also. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so much fun talking to you, Curt. I really appreciate spending so much time. Great getting to know you a little bit. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I told you I've seen a couple of your interviews, and one of the ones that pulled me in was the one with Morris Hayes, talking about what it was like to work with Prince, and I just found that very interesting. And you're doing some great work, so keep it up. I hope
Thank
it's
you.
not
You keep it up too.
next time. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, and with that, that concludes our talk with Curt Jones, fabulous guitar player, singer, composer, producer, multi-instrumentalist for Slave, the legendary Slave, Aurra, Deja, and of course his solo work. And he's still going strong. Thank you so much again to Mr. Curt Jones, a Funketeer through and through. Want to remind you to make sure to subscribe to Truth and Rhythm, support the funk, support the artist, support the cause, and drop me an email. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, who you want to see. Hopefully it's all good and you like it all, but the feedback is great. So email me at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I want to hear from you. So until next time, as always, this is Scott Dr. Jigs Goldfine saying, keep on vibrating to the rhythm of the one.